in the previous article, we are studying about the vice president and the roles and the responsibilities of the vice president. Okay. So coming to the point of the vice president, we are talking about Article 68, 69 of the Indian Constitution. Under Article 68, we have understood that the office of the vice president or president that should not be vacant at any point of the time. Okay. So what we have understood, like if there is any kind of the vacancy at the post of the president, in that place or in that case, the vice president takes care of the office, the vice president owns the office for that particular time period or for that duration. But when it comes about the office of the vice president, and there is the vacancy of the office of the vice president, then usually until and unless the new vice president has been elected, the old vice president does not resign or does not has been removed from his office. Okay. But in the case of the sudden removal or sudden kind of the emergency or death of the vice president, what exactly happens that in those cases, when the vice president is been dead और उनका कुछ भी दिक्कत होता है, in that case, any person can be elected for the temporary period as the vice president and takes care of the office. Okay, so you have understood till now. So under Article 69, we have understood about the oath or affirmation of the Vice President, under which we have understood we have read it out that what is the exact oath language of the Vice President during the time of the taking oath. Okay. So what we have understood that what he takes the oath, like I, XYZ, do swear in the name of the God that I will bear true faith and solemnly affirm allegiance to the Constitution of India by law established, and that I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter. Okay. So here, what the Vice President exactly promises? First, the promise must be taken with the swear or with the promise of or the name of the God. And it is upon the true faith to solemnly affirm the Constitution of the India and to faithfully discharge the duty towards the Constitution, to faithfully respect the Constitution, to obey the Constitution, and to follow the rules and regulations that is derived by the Indian Constitution. Okay, so this is the oath taken by the Vice President while taking the oath intervals. Okay, so coming to the part of the Article 70, we have understood discharge of the President's function in other contingencies. Okay, so while we're talking about the discharge of the function of the President, then we have understood that the Parliament make such provisions as it thinks fit for the discharge of the functions of the President in any contingency not provided in this chapter. So what we have understood that the Parliament makes such provision as it thinks fit. मतलब अगर Parliament को at any point of time किसी भी तरीके का लगता है कि yes, this is the time we should make certain changes for the appointment or the procedural activities of the Vice President, and if it is actually required by the law, then the Parliament can make certain changes in the rules, regulations, provisions of the Vice President of the India. But once again, if any kind of the law is coming through any certain changes, at the first phase, it should be approved by the President of the India. Because when a bill is being done, like at the first phase, what happens usually? The bill first been approved by the Lok Sabha, and then the bill is being approved by the Rajya Sabha itself. And after the approval of the bill, and after the approval of the bill of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, then the bill is being approved by the Parliament, or after the approval of the bill by the Parliament, the bill is being approved by the President of the India. So even if there is any necessary or certain changes regarding the roles, responsibilities, power, designation of the president or vice president, if parliament is making any kind of the provisions or making any kind of the rules, regulations, or any kind of the laws for the protect of the constitution or for any kind of the amendment regarding the roles and responsibility of the president, then it is pretty sure that that should be approved by the president itself. So this is the rule we always consider about. Got it? Then coming to the next part, we need to understand about Article 71 of the Indian Constitution, which speaks about the matters relating to or connected with the election of a president or vice president. Okay. So when we're talking about the matters related to or connected with the election of a vice president, then we always know that if there is any dispute regarding the election procedure or any kind of the thing related to election of the president or the vice president, that must and always need to be decided by the then that need to be decided by the Supreme Court of the India. Sorry, I was a little distracted. Yeah. So when there is any kind of the dispute regarding the appointment of the president or vice president, if there is any kind of the dispute regarding the election of the president, if there is any kind of the dispute regarding the implementation of the power of the president, in all these cases, in all these circumstances, if there is any higher authority who resolves all the issues, who takes the final decision, that is the Supreme Court of India. So in the last class, I have made you understood that there is the three bodies of the constitution. That is, the first is the legislative body, second is the executive body, and third is the judiciary body. So what I have made you understood? 1 second, guys. Yeah. I have made you understood that the legislative body, that is the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, what they does? They make the laws. Okay. So after making of the laws, there is the execution of the provisions, the executions of the rules, execution of the regulations. Then that goes to the executive body. Got it? First, the legislative body that makes the laws. Then comes the executive body which executes the laws. And then comes the judiciary, which is considered as the highest authority of the India. And judiciary body is never ever compromised anywhere. The judiciary body is always the highest authority which takes the decision any matter. And the decision of the judiciary is considered as the final decision of the court itself. Got it? So when we're talking about the matters related to the election of the vice president, then if there is any dispute regarding this, the dispute need to be resolved or the dispute need to be sorted out by the Supreme Court of the India only. Got it? And yeah, subject to the provisions of the Constitution, Parliament may by law regulate any matter related to the election of the president or vice president. Okay? Okay. That means if there is any kind of the rules or regulations of the Constitution which need to be changed or need to be amended, that can be changed or amended by the Parliament of the India. And the last point, it speaks the election of a person as president or vice president shall not be called in question on the ground of the existence of any vacancy for whatever reason among the members of the electoral college electing him. Okay. So what it speaks about? The election of a person as president or vice president. Got it? Shall not be called in question. That will not be a point of question on the ground of the existence of any vacancy for whatever reason among the members of the electoral college electing him. That means, for example, as like we discussed before, For example, there is the sudden vacancy at the post of the president. Okay, or there is a sudden vacancy at the post of the vice president. उनका मान लीजिए the president of the India he suddenly dies due to the heart attack. उनका डेथ मौत होता है. After the death of the president, the vice president takes the chair for a certain period of time. एक महीना दो ले लेते हैं. But ऐसा नहीं तो permanent. There must be the replacement of the president or not. There must be someone who need to be appointed as the president for the rest of the period. There must be some appointment of another person as the president of the India. That might be a temporary basis or might be a permanent basis, right? So here, in that case, the parliament takes out of the election and the same procedure take the members of the state legislative assembly, the members of the Lok Sabha, the members of the Rajya Sabha, they together elect a person as the president of the India. Yes or not? यहाँ पे election, so the new person who has been taking the chair of the old president, जिसको नया नया select किया गया है, the election of that particular person to fill the vacancy of the president cannot be raised a question over here. Clear? Then coming to the next point, power of the president to grant pardons, etc., to suspend, remit, or commute sentences in certain cases. Okay. So under Article 72, it gives the power to the president to grant pardons or to suspend or remit or commute sentences in certain cases. So, like we already know, there is the system of the judiciary that is existing in India, which is the superior authority. And like we know the lower court system, I am just making you understanding it. Like, for example, there is a case of the murder. Okay. So the murder case goes to the lower court. Okay. Court of the judicial magistrate first class. Okay. Then the judicial magistrate first class, it passes the case to the district court. And in the district court, मान लीजिए, the person is being convicted as the death penalty. Because the person might have, just take a sequence, the person have raped a girl child. 8 साल की एक बच्ची को अभी recently भी ये case such as this actually happened. The person has raped the girl of the 7 to 8 years एक बच्ची को rape करके उसी का murder कर. So in this case मान लीजिए the person has been convicted as the death penalty. उसको death penalty का conviction मिल गया. So against the district court, the person appears in the high court. District court के आपका high court आता है. तो जब district court पे person is not satisfied by the decision of the district court, then the person claims and raises a question in where? In the high court. Got it? So मान लीजिए कोई इंसान ने हाई कोर्ट पे, अभी हाई कोर्ट को लगा कि नहीं भाई जो पनिशमेंट मिला है ना वो सही है, इस इंसान को तो डेथ पेनल्टी मिलना ही चाहिए. This person should not kept alive. इसको मरना ही जरूरी है. Then the High Court kept continued of the death penalty. High Court ने बोला कि नहीं भाई जो भी penalty मिला है सही मिला है and I am not going to change the penalty. Then after the High Court क्या आता है? Supreme Court. जब High Court ने बोल दिया कि नहीं भाई और penalty मिलना पक्का है, जरूरी है, इसको death penalty. Then case comes to where? Supreme Court. अपील. सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी जब केस को ऑब्जर्व किया, सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी लगा कि नहीं ये दोषी को मरना ही जरूरी है, सो द डेथ पेनल्टी विल बी कंटिन्यूड. ओके, सो यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, सुप्रीम प्लस सुना दी कि इसको डेथ पेनल्टी. ओके, सो आफ्टर इशूइंग द डेथ पेनल्टी, यहाँ सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज द हाईएस्ट अथॉरिटी, उनके ऊपर तो कोई है ही नहीं, है ना. तो बट उस इंसान के पास according to the Indian Constitution, there is another gateway to live. उसको बचने का और भी एक तरीका है, and वो कौन है? That is the President of the India. वो प्रेसिडेंट के पास राजनिवेदन कर सकता है. राजक्षमा means the person is begging or asking or requesting the President of the India to grant him पैडन खुद को माफी देने के लिए वो प्रेसिडेंट के पास रिक्वेस्ट करता है कि देखिए ये एंड द कोर्ट हैज बीन कन्विक्टेड मी फॉर द डेथ पेनल्टी, तो आई रिक्वेस्ट यू प्लीज मुझे माफ कर दीजिएगा और मेरा डेथ पेनल्टी को कन्वर्ट करके लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट दे दीजिएगा। आई डोंट वांट टू डाई बट आई वांट लाइक कि मेरा जो भी आई एम ओके विद द लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट। मैं लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट के बाद अपने एक नया सो जस्ट डोंट किल मी, आई वांट टू स्टे अलाइव, मेक मी द लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट इंस्टेड ऑफ द डेथ। So this is the discretion of the president after looking into the application कि उनको क्या कर, अगर उनको लगता है सही में इंसान को यहाँ पे माफी अप्रोच लाइक the permission okay of the pardon, and here the person can be excused or his penalty of the death penalty can be converted into the life imprisonment. But usually अगर मान लीजिए कि the person is a very very serious criminal, the person is a terrorist, so वहां पे तो राजक्षमा अप्रूव नहीं होगा ना। अभी का रिसेंट का ही बात बता रही हूँ, लाइक अभी अभी ही कुछ दिन पहले देयर वाज अ न्यूज ऑन द इंटरनेट जहाँ पे देयर वाज अ टेररिस्ट जो कि ड्यूरिंग द ताज होटल अटैक एंड ऑल, सो उसी ने क्या किया था ना, राजक्षमा के लिए अप्लाई कर मुझे मेरा जो डेथ पेनल्टी मेरे को मिला है उसी को कम कर दिया। देन द प्रेसिडेंट पुट हिज नेगोशिएशन अपन दैट एंड उसने ये बोला कि हम किसी को भी माफ कर सकते हैं बट एक टेररिस्ट की माफ नहीं करेंगे। द टेररिस्ट who killed thousands of the innocent persons, that person deserve to be hanged till death, करना तय है, हम उसको बचा नहीं सकते। So the president dismisses the appeal of the Raj Kshama or the appeal of the pardon, and the person was about to like get the death penalty, उसी को भी अपना penalty मिल जाएगा कुछ दिन पे। So this is the situation over here. Got it? So when we are talking about the approving of the pardons, so it is the complete discretion of the president कि वो pardon approve करना चाहते हैं कि नहीं चाहते। Got it? And the second condition we are talking about the remis or the remit or commute the sentence. That means the decrease in the sentence, time period of the sentence. For example, there's a person who has been granted the penalty of 20 years of the life imprisonment. उसको 20 साल का जिंदगी भर कैद की लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट की सजा मिली, बट द पर्सन हु हैज बीन गॉट द पनिशमेंट ऑफ द लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट, दैट पर्सन हैज डन दैट क्राइम अंडर सर्टेन स्पेसिफिक सर्कमस्टांसेस। उसने जानबूझ के नहीं किया, देयर आर सर्टेन सर्कमस्टांसेस मजबूरी में ये काम करना पड़ा था, बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या किया, उसको लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट सुना दिया 20 साल की। अगर कोई इंसान 20 साल तक जेल में रहेगा, सोच रहे हैं उसका क्या हालात होगा, उसका जिंदगी तो वहीं पे खत्म हो जाएगी। मतलब 40 साल पे तो 60 साल तक जेल से बाहर आएगा, तो बुढ़ा हो जाएगा। तो दैट पर्सन वंस की मेरा जो टाइम पीरियड है वो 20 करके 13-14 साल तक कम कर दिया जाए, so that I can have my own life after 10 to 15 years. So that person is going and requesting the president to remit or reduce the penalty period. तो ये भी हो सकता है, and that is also the discretion of the president after looking into certain circumstances and after looking into the all the proper conditions कि यहाँ पे क्या करना सही रहेगा। यहाँ पे this is the complete discretion of the president that he should remit or reduce the period of the imprisonment, the period of the punishment, or he should not remit the period of the punishment. This is the complete discrimination of the president, and this is the choice of the president after justifying looking into the matter that is on the plate. Got it? Yeah. And one more thing, usually if there is any case in the High Court, you cannot directly go and ask the president to reduce your period of the imprisonment or to dismiss your the punishment of the death. You cannot directly approach to the president. That is the procedure. First, the case need to be heard and decided by the Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court के द्वारा जब एक डिसीजन फाइनली मिल चुका है, उसके बाद ही तुम प्रेसिडेंट को अप्रोच कर सकते हो फॉर द रेमिशन और रिडक्शन और एनी काइंड ऑफ द थिंग यू वांट फ्रॉम हिम। लाइक आप चाहते हो कि आपका डेथ पेनल्टी चेंज होके लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट में कन्वर्ट हो जाए। अगर लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट मिला है तो कितने साल का लाइफ इम्प्रिजनमेंट मिला है। If you want there should be any reduction upon the period of the life imprisonment, then you can ask the president for to do that. So these things happen subsequently. Okay. So now comes Article 73. It speaks about the extent of the executive power of the. So when we are talking about the extent of the executive power of the union, then we must know that the executive power of the union that shall extend to the matters with respect to the parliament has power to make the laws. Okay. So executive power of the union is extend up to what? To the matter in respect where the parliament has the power to make the laws. So parliament is the lawmaking body which is called as the executive body as well, because after the approval of the law by the parliament and the approval of the president of the India, the law becomes implemented everywhere in India. Got it? To the exercise of such rights, authority, and jurisdiction are exercisable by the government of India by the virtue of any treaty or any agreement. Okay. So, what is the another power of the union? The another power of the union is to exercise such rights, authorities, and jurisdiction as the exercisable by the government of the India by virtue of any treaty or if there is any treaty or agreement of the government of the India with any other parliamentary body or with any foreign country, with any foreign states. So this is the duty of the union or the union authorities to execute such rights, authority, and jurisdictions of the treaty. Got it? The third one speaks until otherwise provided by the parliament, a state, and any officer or authority of the state, notwithstanding anything in this article, continue to exercise in matters with respect to which parliament has power to make the laws for the state and immediately before the commencement of the constitution. So here, let's understand what the summary speaks about under section 70, under article 73 of the Indian Constitution. The first thing the Indian Constitution speaks that is about the implementation of the law. The union, that means the union of the ministers, including the prime minister, they are considered as the law-making body as well as the law implementing body. Got it? So the point is, when the union is the body which executes the law, implements the law, then what happens over there? There, the law is being made. वहां पे law by whom? By the ministers, by the officials, by the president, by the vice president. Everyone takes part in this. After making of a law, it gets approval from the president of the India and then it comes into the force, right? So when we are talking about the body, that is the union called the executive body because specific rules and specific that accept the implementation of the Indian laws. If there is any kind of the foreign treaties, foreign agreement, or any kind of certain things are there, then what happens? Then the union takes a lead role in it, and this is the major responsibility of the union to make it work. For example, let's take an example. Like India is becoming the part of many kind of the convictions. Okay, like there is the conviction and treaty upon the IPR, intellectual property rights. There are the convictions on the copyright, ICCPR, UDHR. There are a lot of convictions has been happening recently. Okay. So when we're talking about the conventions and its amendments, we know that the conventions and the amendments, the regulations that has an active role, okay, in India. Because if India is the signatory country of that convention, or India is a part of that convention. So this is the basic responsibility of that all the signatory countries to follow with the regulations and rules of the convention or of the agreement. Got it? So the point comes when we're talking about the union, what is the role of the union over here? Here, the role of the union take care of all the activities over here. Here, the role of the union is to balance and understand the basic systems of the implementation. This is the role of the union to specify laws, to make new regulations along with the required provisions of the conventions or upon the treaties. अकॉर्डिंग टू दोज ट्रीटीज दोज कन्वेंशन जो सारे लॉ यहाँ पे इम्प्लीमेंट करना बहुत जरूरी है. The laws which are important, the laws which are specific, the laws which need to be come into the picture, those things need to be implemented very soon. Got it? So coming to the power of the Article 74 of the Indian Constitution, it speaks about the Council of the Ministers. Okay. So we are talking about the Council of the Minister. So what do you understand by this? The Council of the Minister means the ministerial body, okay, which advises the president upon certain particular issues, upon certain kind of the matlab, related documents, or the specific ministers. There has been the specific ministers upon particular departments, right? Okay. So this comes under the part 5 of the Indian Constitution, which speaks about the Council of the Minister. In the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, we are talking about the President and Vice President of India. Okay. So according to the Article 74 of the Indian Constitution, this is the duty of the Council of the Ministers to aid and advise the President of the India. So this let's read the Article 74 of the Indian Constitution, what it exactly speaks. There shall be a council of the ministers with the Prime Minister at the head of the aid and advise the President who shall, in exercise of his functions, act in accordance with such advice. Okay. So along with the President of the India, there shall be a council of the ministers who takes the responsibilities of specific departments for the welfare of the people, for the good governance of the systems and rules and regulations. Got it? Provided that the president may require the council of the ministers to reconsider such advice, either generally or otherwise, the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. Got it? So what it exactly speaks? Well, there is any kind of the advice from the board of the council of the ministers, then this is the responsibility of the president and the prime minister to look into the matter and take the advice into a very deep manner. Okay. So basically, moreover, if we are saying about the council of the ministers, after the election procedure, there is the council of the ministers. And why they has been elected? They has been elected for the smooth smooth ruling and regulating of the body, and they has been elected to take the proper care of each of the department of the India. Obvious baat hai, the one person is not going to handle all the departments at a particular point of time, right? That person also needs the support of the another person to handle into those matters, right? So when we're talking about the president is not itself as God, right? So the president is the body who governs the country along with the group of the council of the ministers, along with the parliament, and along with the prime minister of the country. Clear? Then under Article 75, it speaks about the other provisions of the ministers. So what does it speaks about? The Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President and other ministers shall be appointed by the President with the advice of the Prime Minister. At first, I have already made you understand about the procedure of the election, okay? So, according to that understanding, when an election gets completed or when an election is being 100% completed, what happens? Then other ministers, then the president first decides who is going to be the prime minister of the country. The person who has been elected by the ruling party to become the prime minister of the country, that person is only get the seat of the prime minister officially. So after the appointment of the prime minister suggests the minister, उनके साथ बातचीत करते हैं, उनको सजेशन देते हैं कि चलो देखो, अब तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने, this is now my responsibility to help you out to divide or distribute the departments between the people, right? And the second thing, what is fixed, the total number of ministers, including the prime minister in the council, shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members of the House of the People. Okay? The number of the members of the House of the People, uska 1/5% should not be crossed according to the council number of the council of the minister. Council of the number of the council of the ministers jo hai na, that should be always in between the 15% of the total number of the members of the House of the People. Okay? And the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Okay? So what it speaks? The minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Okay? Second, the council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of the People. Okay? Yeah. The council of the ministers shall be collectively responsible to whom? To the House of the People. Yes. The third thing, before the minister enters into his office, the president shall administer to him the oath of the office and secrecy according to the form told out in the third schedule. Before any kind of the minister, a prime minister enters into the office, there must be the oath-taking ceremony where the ministers take oath along with the president regarding the privacy and security of their duty or of their responsibility. Number 4, a minister who any period of 6 consecutive months is not a member of the either house of the parliament, at the expiration of the period ceases to be minister. Okay? If there is any person who is not the member of the either house of the parliament, then that person ceases to be the minister and shall of expiration of that period cease to be minister. Okay? Clear? Then the next point speaks the salaries and allowances of the ministers such as parliament may from time to time the law determine until parliament so determines shall be specified. The salary and sub minister को जो benefits मिलता है, like मिलता है, and they get their annual monthly salary also. So these things will be provided to a person who will be elected as the president of the India, who will be elected as the prime minister of the India, and who will be elected as the minister of the India. गवर्नमेंट के तरफ से जितना सारा बेनिफिट होता है वो हर किसी को मिलना बहुत क्लियर. So this is about the Council of the Ministers, and from Article 76 onwards we're going to continue in the next class. That is all for today. Thank you.